Hi everyone, so I have a review and demo for you today, and it is on the Refectocil Cream Hair Dye in number 3 Natural Brown. So this I use to dye my eyebrows. I have done a video previously about dyeing my eyebrows, and I will link that in the eye and in the description box. And previously I used the Godfrey powder hair dye. It was a kit and it came with the developer and little capsules full of powdered color, and you had to like break open the little capsules, pour out some of the powder. So you got a bajillion uses in that one if you did only your brows, because you could use just a tiny bit of the powder, mix in the developer, and then, close up the little capsule and use it again. But I found taking apart those capsules was super tedious. So this time, when I was just fed up with that process, I went ahead and bought a kit that included the Refectocil dye, which comes in a metal tube. My cap is a little bit cracked, which is kind of disappointing, so that like the very top layer of the cream will get a little bit dried out. It still works fine, but it's just kind of annoying that the packaging got a little busted. It also, I'm not sure if the kit is still available on Amazon. You can buy the components separately, certainly. And it also came with the Refectocil Oxidant 3% 10 volume developer. And it's 1.7 fluid ounces, and this is like a clear liquid. And it's not like a cream. In the Godfrey kit, it's more of a cream developer. I believe they do have a cream formula, and also the packaging on this is kind of like a salad dressing bottle, where it's got a little plastic cap and then a hole there, so that you can actually dispense drops fairly easily. They just kind of come out as a little drop. It also came with a small glass, a little glass for mixing the product in. You want to mix it in either glass or plastic, something that's not going to react to the stuff you're mixing. And it also came with a little brush, and I do use this brush just because I keep everything together in the plastic bag it came in, and it's just easy. That way I know that I only use this little brush for putting on hair dye on my eyebrows. And you can certainly use something like an angled brow brush. That would be easier, I think, to do it that way, but I just go with keeping everything together so I don't have to worry about it. So it also comes with a big sheet of instructions that are kind of generic based on what color you get. So it tells you how much developer to use, how many minutes to leave it on. I believe it says, let's see. Basically, it says at the bottom for professional use only. And I do want to say straight out of the gate that this is something that I think in theory you shouldn't be doing and should only be done by a professional. If you go to a salon to get your eyebrows tinted, it's going to be about probably the price of this kit, maybe twice that. And when you do it yourself, you can get, who even knows, 50 uses out. So I mean, it's so much more affordable to do it yourself, but you do have to keep in mind, if you get this hair dye in your eyes, it could cause serious damage. So the paper here cautions that you shouldn't be using it on your eyebrows. You should only be a professional using it. So it's one of those use at your own risk type products. And I've been dyeing my eyebrows for years and I've never had any problems. And you do need to be careful though when you're putting it, since it's so close to your eyes. And definitely do not use on your eyelashes. That I would say 100% go to a professional if you want your eyelashes tinted. So that out of the way, it's, like any dye product, it says to do a patch test, to clean your brows first and make sure they're dry. So what I use is just, because what I do is I keep this all kind of in a high spot to keep out of reach of the children, near my extremely messy makeup desk. And that way I use my micellar water to just clean my brows, let them dry. And you could certainly use water, but keeping everything that I need at the desk is just easier for me, because then I think of it when I'm sitting down, like, oh man, my brows are so blonde right now that what I find is like I'm getting more and more frustrated trying to do my brows, and I'm spending more and more time. Then it's like, hey, it's been a really long time since you dyed them. You should probably get on that. It only takes in total, all from start to finish, about 10 minutes. So it's something that really you don't have to put much time into. And especially once you get the hang of doing it, applying it, figuring out what shape you want to do, it really goes pretty fast. So I will include the demo, which shows you what the consistency of the product looks like after it's been mixed up. It does take a while for it to incorporate, so you really have to mix it for a good minute to get that cream color to mix with the liquid of the developer. And then once you have it, it should be not a super thick paste, so it's just kind of like a medium thickness paste. You don't want something that's runny, certainly, because that's going to be easier to drop into your eyes. So it really should be a good solid paste that's not going to drip. And once that's mixed up, then you want to use it right away. So what I do is I tend to look at my watch as I'm starting to apply it, and just keep in mind that usually I only take about a minute to do one brow to get it colored in. Then I'll set a timer for 5 minutes on my watch or on my phone, and then I'll go to the other brow. If you're feeling a little bit nervous about the timing, I would just do one brow, let it sit, clean it off, do the next brow. But since I've gotten the hang of doing it and knowing that I almost always take just 1 minute to apply it to the brow, that I'll have plenty of time to finish up applying this brow and then go back and have a few minutes to spare, then wipe it off, and then wipe off the other one. So it is a little bit of a timing thing if you're doing them both at once. So just keep that in mind, because it can kind of slip away from you. And I found that if I let it sit for more than 5 minutes, sometimes it can be a little bit more dark than what I want for my hair. So my natural hair color is probably about to here by now. So I have kind of a cool-ish brown with some warm tones and some blonde and some white hair all kind of mixed together. So what I want is a little bit more of a darker brown. My brows and my eyelashes naturally are just kind of an ash blonde color, so you really can't see them. You can see my brows a little bit, but with the contrast of my hair, my brows just kind of get lost in my face. So I don't have a ton of brow hairs, but I have a good amount. I didn't ever pluck them, so I don't have, they're not really thin or anything like that. What I'm looking to do is just dye all those what brow hairs I do have, plus any of those little tiny hairs that are just like the hair you have on your face. And it gets those too. So the net effect is that your brows end up looking a little thicker. Even if you don't have a ton of actual brow hairs, it does get those little hairs around it. So I like to dye everything that I would normally fill in. So it might be a little bit above around the edges of my actual brow hairs, but they're all spots that I will fill in normally. So it will just make it look a little bit thicker and more full. So I leave it on for 5 minutes, and then I just do the same micellar water on like a cotton pad or a paper towel, and then just really well take it off, clean it off. It is going to leave a little bit of a tint on your skin. So it is fairly important, if you're going to be going anywhere in the next day or two, that you want your brows to not look crazy, to try to keep the dye only where you would want your brows filled in. So it's kind of like you're filling in your brows with that little brush, but you're dyeing your brows at the same time. So it will leave a little bit of a tint, which will make them seem a little bit darker, a little bit thicker for the first 2 days or so, until that really gets washed off. And then after that, the brows do stay noticeably dyed for, I would say, maybe 4 weeks. You can really start to see how things are growing out, and just kind of the natural shedding cycle and growing out cycle of your brows. I imagine it varies per person, but for me, it would be to my advantage to dye them every 4 to 6 weeks. Realistically, I do it probably once every 2 months or so. I feel like when I look at my brows up close, I'm like, oh, they still have color, still have color. But then I find that I'm getting more and more frustrated and spending more and more time filling my brows in. And that's when I know, like, hey man, you need to get them dyed again and things will be so much easier. So today, I do show the before and after of a completely clean face with before I dyed them and after I dyed them. And I did put some powder through my brows today because I wanted the front of my brows really don't have much at all for hair. So I do like to fill in that area. And I do not have a ton of hair in my brows. They're not really thick, so I just kind of fill in a little bit more. So they're a little bit more solid, not like a totally block solid fill in, but just so that they look a little bit thicker. But it's so much faster when those hairs are already dark. I don't feel like I have to go in with the Tinted Brow Gel to give some contrast to the powder, because when you have blonde eyebrows, when you tilt your head down, you can see all this fluffy blonde eyebrows if they haven't been tinted, or you don't have like a tinted gel or something, or like a pomade which really clings to the brows. That may or may not bother you, but that personally bothers me. It bugs me to see it like that. So keeping them tinted is just my personal preference. So yeah, it's really fast, really easy. The value you get for doing it yourself is really high. You just have to take into account that you have to be extremely careful around your eyes and use at your own risk. And yes, just please, please be careful if you are going to use any sort of dye around your eyebrows. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. Let me know if you have any questions about the process or the products. I'd love to answer those for you. I will include a link to the kit if I can find it, and I will also include links to just the Refectocil cream hair dye and the developer. And I got all of those on Amazon, so I'll link to those where I found them on Amazon. And yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking and commenting and all that stuff. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, please do subscribe. And I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.